Hello and welcome. Buenos dias. Welcome to this panel in English, Woman as a Driver of Competitiveness. My name is Maria de los Angeles Rivera. I'm a tax partner at Kibe Grant Thornton here in Puerto Rico. And today with me, we have a great panel to discuss the topic at hand, which is Woman as a Driver of Competitiveness. In first place, we have Ixel Alcantara from Mexico City. Ixel, please introduce yourself.
Sure, thank you for this opportunity. I am Michelle Alcantara. I am the Regional Director for We Connect International for Latin America and the Caribbean. So We Connect International is a global organization that help to drive money to women-owned business, connecting them to huge corporations and connecting women as suppliers for their supply chains. So we serve more than 120 countries, and we are helping over 12,000 women in the world.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Also, we have Trisha Beckles from Trinidad Tobago. Trisha, please introduce yourself.
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Trisha Beckles, and I work for the Division of Finance and the Economy of the Tobago House of Assembly, which is the governing arm of the island of Tobago, which, for those who may not be fully aware, Trinidad and Tobago comprises two islands, one country. And so the Tobago House of Assembly is the Tobago governance arm of the island of Tobago. So we work with SMEs. My unit is the Strategic Business Support and Development Unit, where our goal is to prepare our SMEs for external markets and to develop the sectors that feed into the economy of Tobago, where we seek to have a more diverse economy besides being tourism-based.
Great. Thank you. And thank you both for joining the panel today. In times of economic reactivation, the gender focus in the world economy plays a relevant role, where it's important to recognize that women are an important factor that contributes to the competitiveness of the Caribbean region and the world. Grant Thornton International has been conducting a study. It's called the International Business Report, Women in Business, since 2004. For 17 straight years, the study has been conducted. And when the study started back in 2004, only 19% of positions in leadership were held by women, in comparison to 31% this 2021. The achievement of the 31% in 2021 is a matter of positivism, because it was always said that once the tipping point of 30% of women in leadership in senior management was attained, then the scale will move faster than it has been moving for the last 17 years. So we, after seeing the results of the survey for 2021, we are very positive that even though the situation actually today at the short term has impacted probably women more and more strong than possibly, the counterparts, men, it seems that it's also opening a window of opportunity to attain those policies that were always looked after, like flexibility and more inclusion and diversity, because as we know now, time is the new currency, and we need to obtain that currency through policies and procedures in our businesses. Just as a point of interest, Latin America has gone from a 20% woman in senior leadership back in 2017 to 36% this year of 2021. So the Caribbean and Latin America are kind of leaders in moving, the spectrum to more women in senior leadership roles. So to start the discussion, I would like to ask Tricia, are the policies that promote business competitiveness in the Caribbean Are there presence, or are we working with them? Can you explain us a little bit more about that?
Yes. The thing about policies in the Caribbean, and I can speak especially to Trinidad and Tobago, where even to add to your point, the leadership positions in some of our key stakeholder organizations in Trinidad and Tobago, those being the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association, as well as AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, they are currently being led by women. Um, as far as policies go, and when you think about competitiveness, you think, I took the time to look up the Global Competitive Index, the ease of doing business, and you see the factors that contribute to those reports. We understand then that the policies have to be a little more all encompassing than just maybe funding or stuff like that. You put the necessary structures in place. In Trinidad and Tobago, for example, we've had through our Ministry of Trade, we now have an export booster initiative that will cover everything from capacity building of the institutions themselves, as well as funding support in different areas of undertaking and export readiness, capacity development of our SMEs. That one initiative covers that whole spectrum. And then there are other initiatives, grant funding through, like in our organization in the Tobago House of Assembly, we actually have at least three separate grant funding initiatives. One specifically targeted to women, which is the REACH program that targets women entrepreneurs in smaller businesses. We also have a grant support program, we have loan programs. And in my unit specifically, our focus is on empowering along the other areas. So, not necessarily grant funding, but the kind of business support and training that helps you to be competitive beyond the island of Tobago, beyond the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. I also went further to look at some of the initiatives in some of the other countries, like Dominica, through the OECS. And one of the things I would also emphasize is the fact that a lot of the international organizations like the IDB, the Caribbean Export, and some of these other entities, She Trades, they have come alongside a lot of the countries in the Caribbean to promote different initiatives that have enhanced and will continue to enhance competitiveness for the longest while. And what it does, not just specifically to women only, but doing it through all the spectrums, through youth entrepreneurship as well as women entrepreneurship, you set yourself up in that regard for not only a broader inclusion, but something that will be sustained over a longer period of time. So there is a lot going on, and we're thankful that international partners have recognized the need for it, especially in the Caribbean, and have come alongside. We've had everybody from CARILED, like I said, all the embassies, all of the embassies have gotten involved. And so we have a steady stream of initiatives that are coming along to strengthen, some over a shorter period of time, maybe 2, 3 years, and others that are ongoing and are flexible enough to meet the immediate need, especially with what has happened with COVID.
Great. So I see, Trisha, that the way the country, your country has decided to work with this issue is to promote and motivate, doing business with women
Yes.
businesses,
Yeah.
not so much as implementing policies like quotas and requirements as to hiring or contracting with women owned businesses, or do you have a combination of both?
I think mostly I don't think we've recognized the need to have it done by way of policies. I think the encouragement is such. And with the inclusion of a lot of the foreign agencies where their specific focus is on women in entrepreneurship, women in business, it helps to kind of cement the message that encourages women to get involved. I think from what we've seen in our example in the Caribbean is that women don't need a whole lot of motivation to get involved. They just need the opportunity, they just need the support. And so our focus is on providing that support, encouraging and empowering them to go forth with their ideas. I think some of our top entrepreneurs, I gave the example of the TTMA and the AmCham, but some of our top entrepreneurs in Tobago have been or currently are women. Even the leadership of the Agro Processors Association is a woman. So they feel comfortable in the current environment to go forward once they have the support. So we haven't had to legislate that this many women be involved because they are coming to the fore. And so, that has not shown itself to be that necessary at this point.
And I'm sure it's going to be self-sustainable for the long run.
Oh, yeah.
Not having restrictions and requirements on businesses that they might be opposed or challenge them, rather
Yeah.
having a kind of a natural process that will make it sustainable for the
Yes.
future. That's
Just recently, I
great.
was even asked whether we should have something that says you have to have a woman and it was an interesting discussion. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Trisha. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Excel in times like today that we have a lot of economic changes going on. Why it is important to include women in the supply chains of large corporations, and how that impacts the communities.
So globally, it is estimated that women make 85% of consumer decisions, and we are basically over half of the population. So that makes women suppliers uniquely qualified to identify potential pain points and needs of female consumers. And in this way, new levels of innovation, disruption, brand loyalty can be achieved for corporations and for governments and all the stakeholders that are involved in the economy. Yet, despite of possessing this huge decision-making and purchasing power, women get only less than 1% of global spend in products and services by corporations and large corporations and governments. So that's a huge gap, but also a huge opportunity. And women not only earn less than men, but they are less likely to get access to capital for their business. So only 2% of venture capital is given to women-led business. So that's also a huge gap. And this is mostly being driven by unconscious gender bias because it's mostly unconscious. So we urgently as a society need to change our mindset around that, right? And women-owned business it's proven to be one of the most significant drivers of innovation and also job creation in both emerging markets and developed markets. So that's something that we also need to consider and engage with, right? And when women gain access to finance and larger business opportunities that are created by larger corporations, their sales growth, so they invest more in health, welfare, education, and not only for their household, but also in the entire community. And that's almost true for 80% of women. So that is measurable prosperity for all, right? That's where you see communities growth. And also, this is not only the right thing to do, but it's also good for the corporate's bottom lines and the government policies. And let's consider that if all entrepreneurs, all small business have the same amount of opportunities, the same market access, the same percentage of access in supply chains, it is estimated that the global GDP could raise up to 6%. So that's a huge opportunity, right? To embrace these uncertain times of economic environment.
And what do you recommend women to do to get inserted in that supply chain?
Well, first of all, it is important that a women-owned business recognize in which stage it is, like to serve a larger corporation or not, or start serving a small business first and then scale in a more sustainable way. It would depend on the industry you want to serve, because it's not the same to serve in the professional services, because you can very easily grow and scale and serve other markets. But if you work for the retail industry, it may have some different implications that you need to consider if you have the right financing solutions already, the right resources, and so you don't for the sake of growing, put yourself in trouble. So it's like you have to make a self-assessment of readiness to go for that opportunity. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, also have very clear your goals and where you want your business to be in the short, medium, and large term as well.
Mm-hmm.
And have a very, very clear knowledge of your market and your potential customers. And then it's also very useful to connect with other organizations as We Connect International, that we help connecting women with corporations, but any other organization that are maybe with industry scope or women networks, because networking is very important to get access to new knowledge, new suppliers, new potential investors, and in general get more opportunities. And that's something that it's maybe different for men, that they are very used because they have been there most time than us into this professional networking. So that's a huge opportunity for women to get more involved in professional networking and get access to those opportunities.
Mm-hmm. And usually it says that, one of or our first the first enemy that women business or women entrepreneurs have is themselves, meaning that
Yes.
they don't dare to dare, as I say, because they want to be 100% ready
Hmm.
to take the leap. What do you have to say, both of you, Trisha and Excel? What do you have to say to women that that hold themselves back because they're not 100% ready, and miss all these opportunities?
Well, I can answer first. I see that very often. We have several events with different corporations, and we invite women to present their pitch, right? To get involved in their supply chains, and we see that very often, that women doesn't think that they are ready or they are good enough to get access to these huge opportunities, or they feel like overwhelmed. So that's something that we also are supporting, providing support in our all offer of capacity building, and also how they can embrace their leadership to change their mindset as well. But you will never get the perfection or readiness that you think you need.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to see that you have like the basic things that are needed for providing the best quality and services that the corporation is expected. And through the time, it's you can work with them to achieve a better vendor supplier relationship, right? But it's go for the opportunities. I would say don't be afraid. Go for the opportunities, and mostly connect with other like-minded women that can serve as mentorships. Seek for mentors. That's very important to
Mm-hmm.
achieve a professional growth and personal growth.
Thank you, Excel. Trisha?
I think one of the things that I would emphasize where women are concerned, is the benefit of relationship. I think we are relational beings, and one of the things I think that helps a lot is in establishing a relationship with the women, that they understand that, even as Ms. Alcantara said, you will not have everything perfect, and it's okay to fail to meet that expectation if you know you have the support that allows you to get up, to learn from a perceived failure, because every failure could be an opportunity. But if you can get up and learn from where you think you failed, you have the support that says, go ahead, we are still with you. It helps a lot for them to press forward. And I think that's one of the roles we recognize in our units in Tobago, that we come alongside, we prepare you even before the opportunity presents itself, so that by the time we put you in place, you're in a position of comfort where you know what to expect. And even if something kind of comes, like a curveball comes, it doesn't throw you completely. I think one of the things that we need to also be mindful of is the balance that women have to strike between family and
Mhm.
business. And as such, there's that kind of added pressure. And if they don't necessarily have the support within their home structure or within their close circle, it makes it even more, of a challenge. And as such, sometimes even for where we sit as, those with the desire to help, with the resources to help, sometimes it's very easy for us to kind of lose patience a little bit. But it helps that we kind of come with a position of empathy that lets them know we understand. We are in this situation. We are something similar to you, even though we're not out there with our own resources trying to help you. But we understand, and together we can make it. It emphasizes the need for relationship above all else, and that knowing that somebody will be in your corner fighting for you, it helps persons to go forward with it.
Great, great. Thank you both. Great, great point of views, and connections will take us further and further.
Yeah.
Being a CPA, I'm stuck with the financial question, and usually when we start talking about women inclusion and diversity, we get this question: do companies with diverse boards or senior management perform better than those that are run only by men? And I have I compared this with the famous phrase out of the 1996 movie Jerry Maguire, "Show me the money." You know, everybody wants to see the numbers and the bottom line results of every policy or every procedure that is implemented in businesses or in governments or anywhere in the country. And the very short answer is yes, they do. you know, Back in 2015, the study that I am mentioned by Grant Thornton, back then it was called The Value of Diversity. They made a very small poll survey that included only 1,050 companies, listed companies from India, UK, and the US. And back then, the cost the opportunity cost involved in not having diverse senior management leadership or boards was estimated, guess what? 655 billion US dollars. Only in that small piece, of the whole economy system. Can you imagine the amount of the amount of the opportunity cost if we include all the businesses and all the countries? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just huge. And there are plenty of studies that deal with this show me the money issue. And one of them I can mention is was made by Catalyst, and it's called Why Diversity and Inclusion Matter. And they have a sub study called The Financial Performance, and that was done just very recently in June 2020. And 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 the conclusions of the study, I'm not going to go through all of them, but many studies, they cite a lot of studies. This study cites other studies, and they link the diversity to indicators of profitability and financial health of businesses, including cash flow return on investment, earning before interest and taxes, earning before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, gross and net margins, internal rate of return, investment performance, market value, operating profit margin, return on assets, return on equity, return on sales, revenue, sales performance, stock returns, just to mention a few. And all these studies have concluded that the answer is yes. Companies that are more diverse and inclusive, they perform better.
Yeah.
More often than not, profitability of financial performance is linked to competitiveness. One says that, a proof of being competitiveness or having competitiveness is your financial performance, how well you do. And if you look for definitions of what competitiveness is, a very short one by IGI Global says the ability to offer products and services to meet the quality standard of the market, maximize the utilization of all the resources, and provide adequate returns, which means profitability.
Yeah.
Okay, so in order to improve the competitiveness of a business, of a country, of a sector, you need to look into the factors that will improve or increase your competitiveness. This is a long word, competitiveness. Um, so, so one of the factors that is included there is the resources, as the definition says. And the most important resource that a company may have is its human resources, its capital.
Yes.
Women today are almost 50% of the labor force, maybe in some countries more than 50%. So if you as a business or as a community or as an entrepreneur are not onboarding them and including them, you're missing half of the pool of talent available out there. And if you don't onboard them, somebody else is going to take them. So
And even
so
as you, sorry,
go ahead.
I'm saying even as you touch on the labor pool, when it comes to qualified personnel, I think a slightly higher percentage of females are available now than males. So if you want to put people in management, you would really hinder yourself by limiting the amount of women, because women have qualified themselves in a range of skills, skill sets, disciplines to really contribute to the progress of any entity.
Correct. And nowadays, that's more true than ever
Yeah.
because of the COVID situation and the quarantine and working from home. 45% of businesses are promoting work life balance and flexibility for employees. These were the policies that we have been fighting for, for women to be available, for them to be available for women so they can be
Yeah.
included,
Yes.
in the leadership chain
Yeah.
because of all the other responsibilities that we talked about. So that's why we say 2020 2021 is really a window of opportunity, especially in the area of women inclusion, because businesses know that it can be done and it
Yes.
works. So there's no buts or whys or when, because it happened and it happened very fast. So we see that as a window of opportunity, especially for women, that can be more included nowadays in leadership uh, positions. And if you have more women in leadership positions to which your staff and incoming staff can look up to, you will become more competitive, in whatever niche you're operating. Another factor is innovation. Innovation is key to increase competitiveness or to maintain, competitiveness.
Yes.
And diverse teams increase innovation and productivity. That's a conclusion of the 2021 report. The more included employees feel, the more innovative they are in their jobs, because the more happy they feel, and the more engaged they are individually with the company's purpose. So innovation is key to continue increasing and maintaining your competitiveness. But in order to innovate and be innovative, you have to invite different ways of thinking and different ways of looking at things to promote more innovative ideas from your staff.
Agreed.
Uh, Customers is also very important, and somebody can call it reputation and responsibility. Clients identify with the brands they use and like. Businesses are focusing more and more on the diversity and inclusion policies and practices of their suppliers, looking for more common traits amongst them. Businesses want to do business with people that think like them and do like them. So if you want to keep your clients and keep being competitive out there, you have to look more like your clients and give your clients what they're looking for. Not just the product you produce, but your purpose and your impact in the community. And diversity and inclusion is usually top mind of a lot of big companies, and maybe Excel can see that, working on the supply chain side of things, where you can see, what the companies are looking for in their suppliers.
Yes, no, and it's important to consider that 80% of millennials have said in a survey that they are willing to pay more for those products and services that are coming from corporations that are driving sustainable operations, and also diversity and inclusion. And yes, huge corporations are already including diversity and inclusion in general, mostly in their sale employees base. But we have still a huge opportunity to cover a huge gap into the supply chain because it's very often left behind. Let's consider that only 1% of the total spend is given to women in supply chains.
Mhm.
And in general, diverse suppliers, that would be the LGBT group, small business in general, um, disabled type of business is also a new ways of drive and disruption of innovation. So it is important that to expand the reach of this diversity and inclusion strategy and umbrella for corporations and governments into the supply chains. That's something that has been addressed in countries like US because also there are public policies that support those. But worldwide is still a new concept that needs to be into the agendas of the C-suite leaderships.
Mhm.
So this can really be real into the supply chains and give this benefit to the communities as well.
Great, thank you. So there's the good thing is that there are a lot of opportunity there, and we need
Yes,
to keep working with that, you
keep
know,
working. That's right.
and with the theme of our panel, competitiveness in mind. I mean, there's no doubt that you need to be inclusive in order remain competitive, you know, nowadays and in the future. The next factor that's always considered is the profitability. You know, the business growth potential will increase with greater diversity in decision making. Risk and opportunity is that was the name of the report back in 2017. And risk management is the process of identifying, evaluating, and managing uncertainty. It is vital for business to manage their risk. You know, if you don't
Yes.
manage your risk, you're doomed. You know, to maybe disappear or lose good opportunities. What's interesting is that men and women perceive and respond to risk in different ways. Maybe because, you know, the way we're raised, maybe because history and culture, but they usually contrast in how they balance speed and decisiveness with careful consideration. Usually, men are, you know, take decisions faster.
Mhm.
They decide faster. You know, the way they see risk is not the way women see risk. Women, we tend to analyze more and make careful consideration. So it's not good that you have all men because you can take risks that, you know, can hurt the business because of the rush or speed in taking the decisions. It's not good to have all women, maybe, because maybe you will get to a paralysis by analysis sometimes because you're, unless you're 100% sure it's good, you're not gonna do it. So the perfect mix is a inclusion of both speed and decisiveness with analysis in order to make the right decisions and manage the risk of those decisions. So that's why it's important for the business to be profitable and sustainable for the long run. Again, we want businesses not for the short run, not for this year, not for next year. We want businesses and countries to keep being competitive forever. So we need to uh, manage risk, of course, and the inclusion of both women and men will give those that balance needed in the analysis that is done, but in the speed and decisiveness in taking the decisions. And lastly, and Trisha addressed some of that, is government and legislation by government and government programs. Some countries have or are in the process of implementing laws that require inclusion and diversity. We heard from Trisha that they have gone the other route of promoting and providing incentives to do business with women. Uh, but also, if you're in a country where these mandates are established, they probably also include some penalties and fines for not complying. And if you're not in compliance, you get fined, and fines hit your bottom line, of course,
Yeah.
and you know your profitability will be impacted. If anything else not does not resonate with you, money this will cost you money. Okay,
Yeah.
not compliance. So again, money talks. Show me the money. But one important thing and one trend that we wish could develop, and especially now that we have hit that 30% tipping point on women included in senior leaderships, is that maybe you don't need to make the business case to have more women included in your senior management or on your board. Just their performance and the results you will get, will be enough for you to be convinced that
Yeah.
in order to be competitive in a world like today, you need to be inclusive and have, women in your senior leadership and in your boards.
That
Um,
was actually my argument in having that conversation, that the performance of the women would speak for themselves. But I think the question that could be asked, given the current situation, is we know that even if we legislate it and we have women in place, there'd be certain inherent biases that may manifest in different ways in having it operationalized. So my question is then, how do we address those biases? How do we identify those biases in operation, given that they may be very subliminal, you know, in the approach of the men that are already on? But how do we identify and address those biases so that the environment is one that encourages and fosters that kind of growth and inclusion, even beyond policy inclusion?
Yeah. And that would be the topic of a whole other panel, Tricia. And I agree with you. And it will start with an inside view of the business and the procedures and policies that are in place. And an
Yes.
evaluation, a clear, transparent, and honest evaluation, because most of these biases are unconscious. And if they're unconscious, we are not aware of them. So we need to increase the awareness, to those biases, which are there, but
Yeah.
we need to know which
Mhm.
which ones are they and how to tackle them.
Yes.
I think we're running kind of out of time here. Excel or Tricia, any final thoughts on the panel? Excel first.
Yeah, so now it's time for international leaders to step up for transformational change to rebuild global business for good. Recovery efforts from the pandemic provide a unique opportunity to build more inclusive systems and communities. So at We Connect International, we know that corporation, multilateral organization, and government that are proactively investing in supplier diversity and inclusion inclusion in general will get major dividends and benefits as we seek to recover from this COVID-19 situation. So thank you.
Thank you, Excel. Tricia?
Firstly want to say thank you for the opportunity. And I think we have started a very good conversation, because I think because of the inherent biases that are there, I would encourage women in leadership positions, women who are at the forefront of the diversity effort, to be the change that you want to see, to model the kind of results, in terms of your approach, in terms of your work and life balance. I think, I so believe in our ability to just do everything, that with the right support, with the right encouragement, we can identify, we can address those biases directly, and we can overcome them. I'm thankful that I'm in an environment that it's more on a persuasion aspect of it. But my encouragement is then for those who are in these positions to go ahead and perform. And as the performance is there, the statistics are there, the money is there to show that this is the way to go. You would have more persons buying into it. So the best to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia. And again, thank you both for joining me today for this incredible panel on money talks, competitiveness, and how the inclusion of women will help, increase financial performance and competitiveness of businesses and countries. So to all of you that are listening and watching us, thank you for joining us, and hope you keep enjoying the master classes and the conference for the whole week. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you, Maria. God bless.
God bless.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.